Yeah.
Okay, I'm just sitting up here entertaining myself.
All right.
Before we continue reading of Los Angeles.
Yes.
I'm on chapter 6 now. And without further ado,
Yes.
let me go into this. Oh, before I start the reading, I'd like to give a little shout out to Master Tom Tran for giving me a nice little jacket to wear. I happened to look in my closet and I thought, hey, where'd you get that from?
Yeah.
Master Tom Tran, who one day gave it to me in the way that he's given us many gifts over the years. In this case, it's a jacket. In many other cases, it's his knowledge of Tai Chi and other related forms. So, without further ado, after having said that, I'm going to go on to chapter 6, which is longish, but it won't be too longish because I've got to leave here and go take a train to Ghana in a few minutes. Don't believe that.
Thank you. Train to Ghana. From the United States, so that's rich.
Hey, wouldn't that be something if you could take a train from here to Ghana? Right?
Exactly how many days would that be?
Well, you'd have to go across a lot of oceans. And stuff
Yes,
like that.
indeed. Okay.
Okay. So, looks like I'm going to be reading chapters 6 and 7. And for those who've been following the event, and the circumstances that went from here to there, know that I'm reading from a book called Los Angeles, which was originally published by Holloway House, and then later reissued by
Our Universe.
Our Universe, with a brand new, wonderful cover by none other than the inimitable Zola Salena-Hawkins. And what you can see here is, look, let me put it bluntly. I didn't have this in mind. A hack artist at Holloway House did that. I had this in mind. I had the tumultuous clouds of discord circling above the city of Los Angeles here. And this is the bridge, as you know, that goes over 4th Avenue. And it encompasses all of those things, which this very talented artist with all of her intuitive senses managed to capture that. Having said that, all right, Alfred, here I come. After years of dancing when he was younger in Mambo Heaven, Chicago, and listening to Afro-Cuban music, Chano Pozo, Candido Camero, Mongo Santamaria, Armando Peraza, Carlos Patato Valdez, Francisco Aguabella, and many others, Odie Hawkins felt he had a good understanding of the rhythms he had danced and listened to for so long. He played tomato can bongos, wooden boxes, anything that gave him a chance to imitate his icons. His wife surprised him, as she usually did. Odell, I thought the best way to put theory into practice was to buy you this drum. I don't know an awful lot about drums, but the guy over at Motherland, a Japanese guy incidentally, made me understand that this is a quinto drum that was endorsed by your man, Armando Peraza. After meeting Armando up in Palo Alto in '09, all I could think was, well, if Armando Peraza has put his name on it, it's got to be cool. Happy and Merry Thursday, Odell. Mozella had done it again. I'm calling this woman by a series of names because she's a multifaceted character.
Okay.
And it just wouldn't seem right to say Zola, Zola, Zola. She sometimes Mozola. That was the pleasant thought that curled around in Odell's mind as he turned into the park picnic area right behind the tennis court on Del Amo. He had driven to commute to Mozala's legal secretary job on downtown Spring Street at the Department of Just Us, as she often joked, and went back south to the park, anxious to experience the sounds of this new drum, a quinto, the solo drum in the three-piece Afro-Cuban ensemble, tumbao, segunda, quinto. A quinto. He was mindful of what he had to do as a quinto player. The bass, bottom, rhythm, tumbao could hold the beat. The segundo person could help maintain the tumbao and open up avenues for the quinto to travel in, to explore, to excite. The quinto could play, did play. He was thinking hard on that structural device as he parked in the parking lot and buzzed his trunk to unload this Peraza drum that Mozola had copped for him from the Motherland drum shop. The quinto is the head voice of the conservatively established Afro-Cuban tumbao, segunda, quinto trio. And all the rest of the cowbells, timbales stuff that follows. The quinto, or that the quinto pursues. Odell worked his head a bit as he unsheathed his drum and sought out the picnic bench that would get him the truest sound and not disturb the would-be Venus, Serena Williams of Del Amo Park. One of those gorgeous autumn days in LA. Not too hot, not too cool. Just the time to try to bounce a few imitated rhythms of his Afro-Cuban drum icons. Squirrels played a few yards away from his drumming. It was all going well for the quinto player. He was confident that he knew what a huahuanco is, and the sub-rhythms that flowed from that. The police passed by without shooting him or making anti-civilian comments. Nothing else to do today, buddy? Yeah, it was going well, he felt. The quinto had a soft bell tone to it that responded well to his right-handed riffs. He was in the middle of his third riff, enjoying the sound of his drum until this young African-American man plopped down on the picnic table bench almost too close to him. This is pre-virus. He didn't stop drumming, but he did take careful notice of the intruder. Just one. Didn't seem to have a weapon, maybe a little space. Medium tall, dark walnut skin, a Taliban thick beard, maybe a wandering Congo drug lover. I need help. Maybe it was the absolutely honest way he said it that made Odell respond. You need help with what? Bop, boop, bop, 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 slap. Odell, the budding conguero, has suddenly become a counselor. If you want some money, I'll turn that down, send him on his way and keep it on. I got a serious alcohol problem. So there, Mr. Congo counselor, what do you say to that? Odell rested his elbows on the picnic table behind him, his drum still positioned between his legs. A serious alcohol problem, huh? Odell took a hard look at the young man. This guy is young enough to be my grandson. How do you know you're an alcoholic? What's your name? Name, Ronald. I know I'm an alcoholic because I drink all the time. Why is that, Ronald? I mean, why do you drink all the time? Because I'm alcoholic. Odell curled his Congo from between his legs and stood to put the drum back into the drum sack. He felt Ronald's thing was a bit over his head. He didn't really know what to say to the young brother. he was easing off the set. I drink too, Ronald. All the time? No, not all the time. Well, I drink all the time. That's why me and Nietzsche is having problems. Who is Nietzsche? She, my girlfriend. Oh? Well, what else can you say? Here she come now. Odell studied the young African-American female strolling toward them, a small, fluffy white mutt prancing along behind her. 5'5", 25, 30 pounds overweight, could be considered cute if she eased off the bright red lipstick, the bright green fingernail polish, the shellacked hairstyle, and the ultra-tight cut-off jeans. Ghetto fabulous. She took an aggressive stance in front of her boyfriend. Why you leave me sitting over there, Ronnie? I come over here to talk to this brother. So you just leave me sit over there on the grass and come over here to talk to a stranger? Odell was beginning to feel like a man in the middle, an emotional pawn. He felt he had no choice but to squeeze himself out of range. Nietzsche? How you know my name? Ronald told me. What else he tell you? He told me that he thinks he has a drinking problem. Odell was a bit surprised to see Nietzsche slump down on the bench beside her boyfriend, the aggressive stance suddenly gone. He do have a drinking problem, and I've been telling him he ought to do something about it or see somebody. So, who you supposed to be, my mama or something? You can't tell me what to do? Odell glanced at his drum sack, already packed and ready to go. No need to stick around and watch two young so-called lovers get into a fist fight. But before he made his getaway, he felt compelled to say a few parting words. Look, guys. I don't know anything about either one of y'all, other than that I've been exposed to, other than what I've been exposed to, right here in the park. So I'm not going to try to play the great loud concert or anything like that, but I would like to offer you all a little advice. Odell took careful notice of the neutral look in their eyes and of Nietzsche's little fluffy mutt pooping on the grass off to the left of the picnic table. He didn't feel it would be emotionally dishonest to turn back to chicken out of the situation. Shit. I'll offer you this little advice, and that's all it is, advice, and then I'll be on my merry way, okay? Cool? He felt relieved to see both of them offer casual nods of acceptance. Now, what could he say that would turn their lives around? Ronald, how old are you, man? 25. Are you, Nietzsche? 22, and I'm tired of this shit. All he want to do is smoke weed and hang out with his homies, drinking and whatever else they be doing. Hey, look here, girl, you ain't my mama. You can't tell me what to do. I'm a full grown up man. I can do whatever I want to do. Odell hoisted his fully packed drum bag on his left shoulder and began to back away from the scene. Nietzsche took note of his fade out. Hey, we thought you was going to give us some advice. What happened? Odell turned full face to deal with her question. Nietzsche, that's a damn good question. What happened? The answer is simple. Y'all happened. What's that mean? Ronald called out to Odell, who was placing his drum in the trunk of his car. Y'all happened. You showed who you are toward each other. Nietzsche has to be less controlling. You have to be less obstinate. Y'all must learn how to cooperate, commiserate, compromise, be considerate, feel for each other. Right now, Ronald, you're 25, right? And y'all fucking is real good, right? For the first time since they come to this particular section of the park, he noticed a perk up in their expressions. They both nodded vigorously. My advice to y'all is to get past that physical thing as soon as possible, because it's only going to last for 2, maybe 3 years at best, and then what? He placed his drum in the trunk of his car, felt compelled to turn back to offer them a little more advice. To be really blunt about it, I don't really think you guys are going to have a successful relationship. Wow, that's a hell of a thing to say, man. Yeah, I know it is. But that's the way I see things, realistically. You're not at that level yet. Well, that's all I got to say. Gotta go. He turned to wave as he reached his car. Damn, why did I have to say something like that to him? Well, I think telling him the truth was the greatest favor I could do for him. They exchanged sad waves as he drove away. 2 weeks later, Odell wheeled into the parking lot of Eddie's liquor store. Time to cop his weekly half pint of Old Forester. The air around Eddie's reeked with the aroma of low-grade weed. The after-dark collage of errant teenage boys lurked in the shadows to the left of the liquor store, patiently waiting for an adult who would be willing to buy them an illegal bottle of awful ghetto-designed beer or a cheap bottle of low-grade vodka. Hey, Odell, what's up? Odell double-checked the lurching, black-bearded young man who detached himself from his crew and stumbled in his direction, his right hand held up, splayed out for a phony my brother handshake and a half-shoulder thump. Yeah, what's up with you, Ronald? Whoa, I remember your name. How's Nietzsche? You remember my girl name too? I got a good memory for names. Odell took in the whole scene. Ronald was drunk and high. Very drunk and very high. His breath stank. He had a bad body odor and he wanted another 40. Look here, Odell. I see you have a good memory for names too. Odell could almost feel the anxiety rising in the young brother's nervousness, his bloodshot eyes twitching at the corners. Yeah, what I was going to say was, I see you going in here to get a little firewater, huh? Yeah. Yeah, I'm going here to get this half pint of bourbon that I like. But please, don't ask me to buy anything for you and your friends, because I'm not going to do it. Ronald created a... What did I hear? Oh, that's Ronald buzzing me. Ronald created a fake friendly smile on his drunk mug. Wow, you get right down to it, don't you? I guess you could say that. I asked you about your girlfriend, Nietzsche. What's going on with you two? A sudden vicious look gripped Ronald's face. He spat on the ground like he had been chewing on something bitter. I had to cut that bitch loose. She was getting on my nerves, trying to act like my mama and shit. Odell nodded in Ronald's direction to indicate that he had heard and strolled into the liquor store. You become a dumb drunk, Ronald. That young lady could have helped you. Odell copped his half pint and strolled back out. Ronald was still standing where he'd left her. Odell, you say she could have helped me? She still might be able to help you, who knows? Yeah, who knows? Ronald mumbled in an absent-minded way. Yeah, who knows? Odell pulled slowly away from the scene, glancing in the rearview mirror at the young blood. There, but for the grace of God, it might have been me if it had been for Mozilla. Chapter 7. It's kind of a mystery about how I met Brother Kwame, my taxi driver in Accra, Ghana, for 2.5 years. When I think back on us, or how we hooked up, it was like he had always been there. I know that wasn't the case, but sometimes it seemed that way. 1992, 1995, ancient times. What was I doing in Ghana, West Africa? Hard to say now. But I would have had an even more difficult time explaining it then. The easiest answer I could give myself is that I was just there. Like there was a there, and that's where I wanted to go. I had geared myself up to go live in Africa for a while. I didn't have a set time frame to fill in. I was just going to go there and live. It had a lot to do with being an African American. I would definitely have to factor that in. For I wouldn't say that I was going back to discover my roots or anything like that. I felt that Alex Haley and a few other hard researching souls had already covered those grounds for me. I was after something a bit more casual. I guess that's why stuff worked out so well. It took me about 3 months after landing on Ghanaian soil for me to get a job writing and directing the Betty Arco Show. Inspector Betty Arco, a serial TV show about the life and business of a West African detective. I wrote the Bible, auditioned some of the actors, directed some of the early segments. I scored big time the first time out. Plus, I was writing columns for the Ghanaian Voice, Public Agenda, and Horizon newspapers, plus articles for a couple of European newspapers. I was all over the place. In addition, there was my Saturday, Sunday morning capoeira class at the fitness center, my twice weekly writing classes at the Accra Girls Secondary School, also the creative writing class at the Ghana International School. Yes, sir. I was all over the place. I must have been out of my mind. I didn't even have a watch. So many places to go, so little time. I guess that's why Brother Kwame, my savior driver, appeared. He literally appeared like a drop of water out of the sky. I needed a driver because the transportation system then was non-existent. There was a Churchill, a VW van that was used as a small bus going from place to place, loaded, jam-packed would be a more accurate description, or taxis, also loaded, jam-packed. And at the top of the heap, chartered taxis. Taxis that could be rented for an hour or two or a day or two. Brother Kwame fell into my orbit as a chartered taxi driver. Brother Kwame, I will need you in the morning for 3 hours. I will be here. What time? 9 a.m. I will be here. And he was there 99% of the time. We had things to do, always. It usually involved money. For example, I'm supposed to have a pension check coming to me via the American consulate. We zip over the consulate for the check, 9 a.m. Mrs. Archampong is not about. What does that mean? It means that she's not here. She won't be here until 10:15. So now what? Should I wait at the consulate for an hour while the meter is running? Or trip over to the Public Agenda newspaper for the money for the last movie review I wrote? Yeah, that's what I'll do. And while I'm at it, we'll stop at Mr. Ansau's Ghanaian Voice for the money he owes me for my last column. Lungo Lungo. Like I said, I was all over the place. Lena Schlachmuja is at the scene at the Public Agenda. We thought you had forgotten about your payment. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha ha, my ass. Yeah, I never forget who owes me money. The sun is blazing hot now, around about 10, and I'm beginning to have a funny feeling on one side of my head. Malaria. I hope not, but that's one of the signs. Mr. Answer at the Ghanaian Voice, he always triggers a number of feelings in me. I want to slap the shit out of him for being such a liar. Oh, we have not received our money delivery yet. You must return tomorrow. What time should I come, sir? I always try to be respectful, no matter how pissed I was. After all, this was the guy paying me for columns about whatever I felt I wanted to write about. Let us say about noon. I'll be at noon, sir. He didn't like my size. Sir. Yes, sir. He scowls at me as I stutter step through the door. Yes, the malaria is kicking in now. I begin to feel cold in the mid-morning heat. but I'm starting to sweat. Brother Kwame picks up right away. You're beginning to have the malaria. No question, that's a statement of fact. Yeah, well, let's get back to the concert so I can get my check from Mr. Achampong. So, Brother Kwame weaves in and out of mid-morning Accra traffic from Asylum down to downtown Osu. Nothing for me to do but settle back in what is becoming a pool of sweat. This is going to be a bad one. Mr. Champon pushes my check through the slot in her cashier's cage. A mean expression on her big, fat, greasy face. Brother Kwame, let's cash this so I can pay you and pick up some chlorine tabs from the pharmacy. Hydrochloroquine works for malaria. I can testify to that, but not for COVID-19. That asshole. Chlorine tabs should do the trick, but if they don't work, I'll go to Dr. Sunyane for a fluoroquine shot. Chloroquine. The chloroquine tabs didn't work. Maybe the tabs were fake, didn't have any power in them. There was a rumor that the Nigerians had hijacked a few tons of anti-malaria tabs and substitute some other kind of stuff, baby powder or milk sugar or something. I wound up in Dr. Suryane's office getting a couple of shots of fluoroquine in the butt. Good old Dr. Suryane. I could always count on him. The malaria episode kicked my ass for 5 straight days. I was freezing from icicles running up and down my spine and sweating like a pig. On the 4th day, I had to get 2 more shots. This is cerebral malaria, the good doctor told me. It is very stubborn sometimes. Before the effect of the fluoroquine kicked in all the way, I spent a night hallucinating that I had lost 10 pounds sweating, wrestling with the malaria demon. On the 6th day, it broke. No fever, no chills, and I craved sugar cane. Brother Kwame came for me to do the usual errands and buy some joints of sugar cane. They cut the stalk off in those joints. It didn't take but a couple of minutes of riding through the chaotic traffic to see that Brother Kwame was going through a malaria episode. Malaria? Yes, my first day of it. But I have already taken some anti-malaria medicine. And that's the way it went down for 2.5 years. I can't speak for him, but I have to say that Brother Kwame became a true brother. It had a lot to do with our common affliction with/from malaria. But beyond that, there were other mysteriously bonding factors. I was an optimistic dreaming of 10 times the unrealistic character. Mr. Odie, what made you come to Ghana here? Brother Kwame, you really want to know the truth? Yes. I think the Orisha made me do it. Orisha? I don't know of this. Maybe I could say ancestral spirits. Ancestral spirits, I understand that. But why would these ancestral Orisha push you to come to Ghana here? Some people are rich here, this is true. But most of us are poor, we have diseases, we cannot read or write. Many of us think that the earth is flat. Why would these Orisha push you to come to such a place? I don't know, Brother Kwame, you'll have to ask him. Oh, so these Orisha are like God, eh? That's what I've been trying to tell you, man. But you didn't say that. We had many of those kind of conversations struggling through the serpentine mazes of Accra traffic. He never gave anybody the finger, shouted insults out of his window, or lost his cool. If he saw an utter fool trying to defy the odds, he might announce in solemn English, that man is seeking death. No doubt about it. I began to look at my 2444 journeys with Brother Kwame as educational. Often as we got to cue in on each other's psyches a bit, he realized that I wasn't after a guided tour through anything. Take me to where I want to go, and I'll reach my own conclusion about what we saw en route. I pointed stuff out to him. En route to Latte, for example. Brother Kwame, did you see that? Yeah? Those two women carrying a half-ton log on their heads. Yeah. They must be very strong indeed. He said it was such a strong element of our sarcasm. I had to rethink my observation. Women were always carrying incredible loads on their heads in Ghana. So what's different about these women? We danced on each other's cultural nuances about a whole bunch of things during our 2.5-hour drives around Ghana. The advantage I had, which he acknowledged on many occasions, was that I had the experience of here and there.
Okay.
Here and there. But he never conceded that his lack of far-ranging experiences was evidence of any kind of inferiority. No matter where he is, in Ghana here, or in your Chicago, a man will suffer. A man will suffer no matter where he is born. We never argued, despite the fact that I always encouraged him to offer his difference of opinion.
Right.
He thought that that was inappropriate for him as a driver to try to make his employer agree to his opinion. But he wanted, yes ma'am, but he wanted his points whenever superior Ghanaian knowledge was the deciding factor. Mr. O'Day, you don't know this country. I had to agree with him about that. No matter where we went in this multilingual land, he always seemed to have a linguistic grip on things. Brother Kwame, what language were we speaking with that man? Hausa. I didn't know you spoke Hausa. Oh, only small. Only small.
Shit.
After he exchanged words with another man for 20 minutes, speaking a language that sounded to me like a water rippling over rock obstacles. There was always a surprising element in what happened with him, with me, with us. One day he would have malaria and I would receive $2 grand from an unidentified source. 3 days later I would have the malaria. It was all like that.
Right.
Always like that for 2.5 years. Maybe it would have continued in that vein for years if the flood hadn't forced me to return to the land of milk and money. It happened in May, the beginning of the rainy season in Ghana. I was in the middle rounds of a bout of cerebral malaria, meaning that I felt like both sides of my head was about to explode.
Yes.
Right about midnight, the rain pounding on my corrugated tin 2-room house was beginning to make sense to me. It was Chano Pozo, Carlos Patato Valdez, Mongo Santamaria, Francisco Aguabella, Armando Peraza, with Tito Puente and Papato backing the Congo Masters up with cold-blooded timbales. I was going crazy. My left hand left my shoulder and drifted over the side of the platform bed that I was futon down. So cool, so cool. What was cool? I held my arm up to my head, squeezing water out of my clenched fist. I was being flooded, almost as though I had rehearsed it. We slid off of my futon-covered platform bed, rolled the futon up, cinched it with a couple of lengths of convenient rope, and waded through our flooded house up to our knees now into the front room to climb up on the kitchen table.
Oh, wow.
The kitchen table became our safe island for a long night. By the time the dirty water washing down the hillsides above us, flushing all of the filth in the drains in passant, I was convinced that we were going to drown. I did a quick life review.
I bet.
Oh well, it's been a groove. What other conclusion could I reach? The rain slacked down to a steady downpour. The flood waters were being siphoned away by tributaries and rivulets I didn't know anything about. The sun came up like a giant lollipop, the way it usually came up. I felt we were going to live. My malaria was gone.
That's funny.
That was funny. Maybe there was something in the nasty water to trigger a counterattack on my malaria attack. I can speculate in retrospect. The tropical rain blizzard that held us captive for a long night suddenly stopped when the sun spooled up about 10 inches above the horizon. It was like the vampire rain suddenly realized that it was out of place in the sunshine and suddenly disappeared.
Oh, Lord, the vampire rain. Okay. Okay.
All of us who had been flooded offered prayers aloud or silently. We were saved from drowning. My malaria was gone. That really seemed like a double miracle to me, being saved from a serious malaria attack and drowning at the same time.
Yes, yes.
Nothing to do but start shoveling the debris away from our front doors. We were hit hard by the flood, no doubt about that. But nobody in our little compound neighborhood freaked out. It took a whole hot day of the men shoveling and the women washing possible to be mildew clothes before the business of our hood resumed its activities. I was amazed. I thought it would take weeks for stuff to be straightened out.
Apparently not.
After the flood, Brother Kwame made his usual suave appearance. An elegant-looking, dark chocolate-colored guy who always sat up straight in his driver's seat or stood straight when he stood up. Ah, Mr. O'Day, it looks like you've been rained on a bit. I had to smile.
Sarcasm.
It would take his dry humor, you got that right. It would take his dry humor to make light of such a damp situation. Fast forward into a backwards thought. I look forward to being in this taxi again. Maybe we can get the brothers Kwame and Kofi together and drive them around for a few hectic Accra blocks. Who knows what the future holds? And I'm leaving it right there because we're going on to chapter 8. And that's it for the evening.
It sounds, you know, not quite like the Los Angeles I read, but...
Well, what I'm doing, and I hope we all can follow this, is that I'm not simply staying in Los Angeles itself. I'm staying in Los Angeles in my mind and going out to places I've been to or that Chester has been to.
Okay.
And retracking is called maybe reminiscing, but there's no need to stay where you are because you were born there.
So says the reader.
So
okay.
no need.
Adventurer.
I mean, you know, hey, get out of.
All
If you were born on a concrete slave ship, let's call it New York or Chicago. Why would you stay there?
Well said.
That's all I got to say about that.
Okay, your books can be purchased at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, local bookstore. Their website is www.OdieHawkins.com. If you like the video, please subscribe. And we will catch you the next time with further readings
Tomorrow,
from Los Angeles or something.
Korean Nights.
Los Angeles.
I'm trying to fuse the titles because the story really in some sections is about the Korean American, African American conflation.
Okay.
And what came out of that. As we know, it was not desirable when it happened in the worst way. But since then, I think we've learned a little bit more about each other and that we should be able to get along together better. As a matter of fact, hopefully, after we manage to toss this maniac out of the White House, we all might be able to figure out a way to re-jail. Because what he has done is make it very difficult for people of the human race to get there in the United States. It could only be done by somebody who's mentally ill. We had a similar case The only one I can think of, and I don't want to become philosophical here or psychological, but the only one I can think of is Hitler, who was able to make people think that there had to be a war with each other. And, as you know, he got the whole world involved. We're in much more danger now with somebody who has access to the nuclear codes. And on that note, I'll end it and Lord help us.
Ashe.
Namaste, Ashe.
Namaste, Ashe.